Good afternoon and welcome to Women Lives Matter on Women Radio 91.7. My name is Sumto Titilayo Ajama. Women Lives Matter is an initiative of Women Advocates Research and Documentation Center in partnership with Women Radio 91.7 and funded by Ford Foundation. Today on Women Lives Matter, we're discussing step-by-step procedure on reportage of violence against women and girls. Step-by-step procedure on reportage of violence against women and girls. According to the United Nations Entity for Gender Equality and the Empowerment of Women, violence against women and girls is one of the most systematic and widespread human rights violations. Reporting on sexual and other forms of gender-based violence in emergency contexts facilitates advocacy with decision makers and communities in order to ensure protection for victims. However, reporting sexual and gender-based violence against women and girls in emergency contexts without taking into account basic ethical and safety principles can also put GBV survivors and their families, and even those who are helping them, at risk. Now, to expatiate on this and to explain why it's so important to follow this due procedure and to get the reportage correctly is my guest today on Women Lives Matter, Omolono Olabisi, Chief Executive Officer, Restoration of Womanhood. Good afternoon, Olabisi. Thank you so much for joining us on Women Lives Matter. Hello, are you there? Hello, good afternoon. Are you there? Hello, Olabisi, can you hear me? All right, while we try to reconnect with her, still join us. This is still Women Lives Matter on Women Radio WFM 91.7. Now, let's talk about why this is an issue in the first place. Reportage of violence against women and girls, or gender-based violence against women and girls, is extremely important because this is what puts that information before the world. This is what lets people know what is happening. And if it's not reported correctly, it places a certain perception in the hearts of people, which at the end of the day might not be in good light. And it might make that perception in itself might be a major reason why people are not understanding what's going on. So we definitely do need to talk about this. And this is one very, very important aspect of the program. So whatever it is that you're doing right now, if you're interested in this, you're welcome to Women Lives Matter, and let's discuss this. Now, step-by-step procedure on reportage of violence against women and girls. Based on the statistics, based on the information I read earlier, violence against women and girls is one of the most systematic and widespread human rights violations. And I know you understand that because I'm sure you must have heard so many stories of women being violated, of girls being violated in one way or another: physical violence, sexual violence, emotional violence. And in a lot of ways, it doesn't speak well of people in general. And this is why I believe it's said to be the most systematic and widespread human rights violations. There is so much more that needs to be done, taking into account basic ethical and safety principles. This can definitely help the reportage of gender-based violence cases, particularly with reference to women and girls. So it's definitely important. This is a matter of urgency that we discuss this, particularly because of the increasing cases of gender-based violence in our society and the fact that these cases have to be reported. So whatever the case is, the number to call for this program is 07000 917 917. 07000 917 917. You can also send in a text message or a WhatsApp message to 0703 175 6537. 0703 175 6537. We're going to be discussing what exactly reportage of violence against women and girls is and how it should be done. And of course, strategies that communities can also engage in to ensure proper reportage of cases of gender-based violence. It's also important to note whether there should be training or not, and what kind of training should be given. So these are just a few of the points that will be shared in the course of this conversation. Once again, I'm not the one speaking. I'm Sumto Titilayo Ajama. I'm your host today for Women Lives Matter, but I definitely have a more conversant guest, a more versatile guest, a more versed guest that would speak more on this particular subject matter. So, without fear or favor, reportage of violence against women and girls needs to be reported. And this is because without any question, justice has to be served at the end of the day. But how do we make people understand how important this is? How do we make people see the importance of reporting in the right way? So there's reporting and there's reporting in the right way. This subject is not just your random everyday house burning, flooding. Even such matters need to be reported with a certain level of sensitivity and a certain level of delicateness, let alone a subject like gender-based violence or like violence against women and girls. So it is especially important that this needs to be done correctly. This is still Women Lives Matter on your Women Radio, WFM 91.7, and this is most definitely still an initiative of Women Advocates Research and Documentation Center in partnership with Women Radio 91.7 and funded by Ford Foundation. Once again, I have my guest, Omolono Olabisi, Chief Executive Officer, Restoration of Womanhood, to enlighten us on the subject matter. Hello, Olabisi. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, good afternoon. And good afternoon at home.
Thank you very much for joining us today.
Hello.
Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
The number to call to join the conversation is 07000 917 917. 07000 917 917. You can send a text or a WhatsApp message to 0703 175 6537. All right, coming to you now, Olabisi. How well would you rate the reportage of violence against women in your community to start with?
Okay. Thank you very much. To rate the rate of reportage in my community now is average, but in the past we have it at 0 level before the intervention of WC in some communities in Ondo State. And when we are in the communities also, we have some state government interventions. So with this in the community, with the sensitization and outreaches we have in the communities, people are now speaking up. So now there is drastic improvement in reporting cases in Southwest, most especially in Ondo State, because awareness are everywhere now, in the churches, in the mosque, in markets, in communities, even in schools now. So all this awareness program is on. So with this, the reporting and cases, the way we report is now on increase, very, very on increase.
That's very good news. That is definitely very good news to hear. And I'm really glad that that's happening in Ondo State, thanks to the intervention of Ward C. Now, let's talk more about this, about the strategies. And I'm talking about strategies particularly because the people in the communities are very important, particularly because they are your immediate set of people that you are exposed to. So what are the strategies that communities themselves can engage in to ensure that gender-based violence is properly addressed and reported?
You know, our community leaders, they should take the lead in the fight against GBV in the communities. Because when we take the lead, the offenders, they don't have hidden place because they believe in their leaders and they fear their leaders. And with this, they should take the lead in the communities. And also in the communities must have community structure on how to report the cases. Like the project sites in Ondo State, where we have the WOC program, we have community structure. And that community structure starts from the Oba's Palace. We have the community response team. We have liaised and paid advocacy to the security agents. and already we have formed a committee. So with this, if all communities can have structures on ground for reporting the cases, it will be okay. So the community structure must stand and well structured in the communities, so that the culprit will not have any hidden place in the community. Like, just to cite an example,
Yes.
in Elisho community in our local government in Ondo State, any case we first of all go to the Oba's palace, and when the king and the community response team, when they start on it, if it's the one they can resolve, they will solve it. But if not, the case will be referred to the security agents. And if at that locality they cannot solve it, then they will make the referral to the state government. So the structure is there. So if all communities can have structure like that, then it will be easy to report the cases in the community. And also the local security agents also, we carry them along, the vigilantes, the amotekun in the communities. So all these people, they are very, very essential to form the community structure, so that the cases will be reported and addressed positively. In our project site, we have been having positive reports and success stories because of the structures we have. And also in the communities also, we can have paralegal trained people that will be handle that may want to be the first responders in the community. So what I'm saying in a nutshell is that the community leaders should take the lead in the fight against GBV. They should take ownership of any program, any project, bring it to their doorstep, that this is my program. When take ownership of it, when they believe in it, it will be easy to cope and end GBV in the communities.
So it is first and foremost very important for the community leaders to take the lead in addressing cases of gender-based violence. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. You did talk about the community response team earlier. You talked about the community response team. So I'm believing, just to get this right, when you say community response team, do you mean the first responders in that community for SGBV cases? Hello, are you there? Hello? Hello, can you hear me? Hello, I'm on Olabisi, are you there? All right, we're still trying to reconnect with her on that one. And we're still talking about step-by-step procedure in ending on reportage of violence against women and girls. Step-by-step procedure on reportage of violence against women and girls. I'm still in conversation today with Omolono Olabisi, Chief Executive Officer, Restoration of Womanhood. And today she's joining us to discuss step-by-step procedure on violence, on the reportage of violence against women and girls. So, Olabisi, I was asking this earlier about what are some of the strategies that communities can engage in to ensure that, you said something about community response team, and I took that as a key to ask you about first responders. Do you mean when you say community response team that, are you talking about the first responders on SGBV cases in Ondo State?
No, the community response team, they may be the first responders in the community, whereby they can do referral to the appropriate place. These are the people that the community, they are living with the community. So if there is anything that
Hello, are you there? Olabisi, can you hear me? All right. This is still Women This is still Women Lives Matter on Women Radio 91.7, and we're still discussing step-by-step procedure on reportage of violence against women and girls. Step-by-step procedure on reportage of violence against women and girls. Women Lives Matter is an initiative of Women Advocates Research and Documentation Center in partnership with Women Radio 91.7 and funded by Ford Foundation. If there's something you want to say concerning what has been said so far, or what you think can be done in order to really address and turn around the current form of reportage, or the current style of reportage of violence against women and girls, if you have a clue what this is about and you have ideas on how it can be sorted and be done better, then kindly call in. The number to call is 07000 917 917. 07000 917 917. Now, my name is Somto Titilayo Ajama, in case you're just tuning in, and I'm speaking with Omolono Olabisi, Chief Executive Officer, Restoration of Womanhood. So, what is it that you have to say concerning this? You were correcting me earlier about the fact that first responders are not the community response team. That does the community response team within that community. The community response team are the first responders within that community. That's what you were saying earlier.
Yes, I would say.
Hello, are you there?
Yes, I'm with you.
All right, please go on. You're explaining what the first responders are in relation to what the community response team is.
Okay. I said the community response team are the trained community members in the communities that have been trained on different types of GBV, violence against women and girls in the communities. They have been trained, they how to make referral and how to do the counseling. They are in 7 communities in Ondo State, 6 communities in Ondo State, where we have the presence of Ward C. So what I'm saying is that in other communities also, and in security agencies desks, they should have first responders also. So it's not only the community response team that are first responders. So in all the communities also, they may have their own first responder. But in our communities where we are working presently, those people are standing in as first responder in the community. That's what I'm saying.
Very critical. Very important. So now you mentioned training. You said they're trained, that these people are trained.
Yes.
What kind of training?
Yes,
what kind of training has been given, and what kind of training should be given to future first responders to help them provide proper support?
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, they must be trained on how to identify different types of GBV, violence against women and girls. The different types we have, for example, like physical, emotional. And also they must be trained on emergency needs for these survivors, most especially the first aid. If you are not trained how to handle the survivors, they may destroy the evidences they have. So if they were trained on how to undo it, the survivor will not destroy.
Hello, are you there? If they're trained on how to handle it, maybe the survivor, we didn't get the end of that particular statement, and that's because I think we're experiencing some network issues at the moment, and we apologize for that. This is most definitely still Women Lives Matter, and we're still navigating or speaking on step-by-step procedure on reportage of violence against women and girls. Step-by-step procedure on reportage of violence against women and girls. My guest today is Omolono Olabisi, Chief Executive Officer, Restoration of Womanhood. Now, you were saying something earlier, Olabisi. You want to complete that?
Yes, that they must be trained on case management also.
Hello, are you there? This is Women Lives Matter on Women Radio 91.7. It's 23 minutes past 2. And you can call in to contribute. You can call in to ask questions. You can call in to lend your voice to this subject. How best do you think that reportage of cases of violence against women and girls should be done? How well do you think it should be done for effectiveness purposes and for justice purposes? How well do you think cases of gender-based violence, particularly against women and girls, should be reported? That's the question I'll be throwing out to you. The number to call is 07000 917 917 07000 917 917. You can also send in a text or a WhatsApp message to 0703 175 6537 0703 175 6537. So it's majorly a situation where it's understandable that first responders are being trained and they're being put through on what to do in order to properly support these people, these survivors. Now, I was asking Olabisi earlier about how have they been trained and how should they be trained in order to provide that support that somebody who has just been violated needs. Hello?
Hello.
So did you hear my question?
Hello. Yes. Come again with your question.
So you were talking about training of these community response team. That's the first responders in the community. So I'm asking that what kind of training have they been given and what kind of training should they be given to adequately support survivors of violence against women and girls?
They should be trained on counseling techniques. They should also be trained on identifying different types of GBV. And they should be trained on the emergency needs of the survivors, most especially the medical care, the medical support. If they were not trained on the medical support and they do not ask the survivor to go to the hospital immediately, the evidences may not be found. So they need all this training and also to train them on psychosocial supports so that they know what to tell them immediately that will not cause depression, that will not make them to feel stigmatized, that may not want them to keep or hide some information. So they need all this training. Their case management. Then they must be trained that anything they hear from this survivor, they must keep it within themselves.
What did you call that? What did you call that? What did you call the last one, please?
The what?
The last one. What did you call this last one?
The last one.
The very last one you spoke about. What did you call this very last one?
I said they must be trained, that there must be.
Still Women Radio WFM 91.7. This is Still Women Lives Matter. Stories of women and girls who have suffered gender-based violence and harassment are common. And this is why we must work together to end gender-based violence by uprooting the seeds from the community. Tune in to Women Lives Matter on Women Radio 91.7 every Monday at 2 p.m. to lend your voice to the fight against gender-based violence. Women Lives Matter will address gender-based violence in the community. Women Lives Matter will seek the collaboration of your community leaders. Women Lives Matter, Mondays 2 p.m. on Women Radio WFM 91.7. This is an initiative of Women Advocates Research and Documentation Center and supported by Ford Foundation. 27 minutes past 2 on Women Lives Matter. This is still Women Lives Matter on Women Radio WFM 91.7. If you're just tuning in, we're still discussing step-by-step procedure on reportage of violence against women and girls. Step-by-step procedure on reportage of violence, of cases of violence against women and girls. Women Lives Matter is an initiative of Women Advocates Research and Documentation Center in partnership with Women Radio 91.7 and funded by Ford Foundation. Today we're discussing step-by-step procedure on reportage of violence against women and girls. And this is a very pertinent subject, particularly because it affects the way we see these cases. It affects the response in which we give these cases, and it affects the way society in general views these cases. And it also affects the culture of silence. What goes on with the culture of silence? Does it become slowly eliminated, or it is slowly encouraged through the reportage of cases of violence against women and girls? So we have to discuss this. And my name is Sumto Titilayo Achama. And discussing this with us today is Omolono Olabisi, Chief Executive Officer, Restoration of Womanhood. Good afternoon again, Olabisi. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. The number to call is 07000 917 917 if you want to contribute. 07000 917 917. You can also send in a text or a WhatsApp message to 0703 175 6537. 0703 175 6537. So I was asking you about what kind of training should be given to first responders and what kind of training has been given to them. You spoke about counseling techniques, identifying different types of SGBV, providing emergency needs, particularly medical care needs, psychosocial support, and you were talking about the last one.
Yes, I talk about case management and referral system. They must know where to refer the survivor to. So in all these areas, you need training, referral systems and the case management.
All right. Thank you so much for that. That was very helpful. Do you think there's a guide that can help people understand SGBV and how to fight it? Do you think there should be a guide like that can simplify what SGBV is and how people can fight SGBV?
In fact, that's a pocket guide. That pocket guide, that guide is a perfect one. It's a good idea and it's a good initiative so that everybody will know his or her rights. Everybody will be going out with the pocket guide, like the simplified version of VAP that was given to the project site in Ondo State. This simplified VAP have helped us a lot in Ondo State because in our communities, we distributed it. All the desk officers on gender-based violence in Ondo State, in all the 18 local government, we distributed it to them. The yellow days, but in schools, we just said the verb simplified version. So if you can have such pocket guide on GBV, it's a good one. So whenever you are talking, you talk like an authority. Whenever you are speaking or handle case, they will know that what you are doing, and everybody will know his or her rights. So to have that pocket guide is a very good one, and it's a good initiative. So I would love it if you can have it, and even also to give to our children in schools, most especially in secondary schools, because the children in secondary schools, they are facing a lot. These case of incest are so rampant and common in our secondary schools, even in primary schools. Case of 10-year-olds that we abused by the father, abusing the child continuously. So if you have such a guide that everybody can hold on to, it's a
Hello.
And if anybody that is standing with you or your neighbor knows that you have such a guide, he or she will know that yes, you know the rights, and you know, most especially by their siblings, by their biological fathers. They don't know that it's true. They just believe it's a normal thing, and they threaten them not to speak. So if you have the perfect guide, it's a very good one that will help us to end this this violence against women and girls. It's very so it's a good one, and it will be a sort of capacity building for everyone to have it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And in line with this, in line with the simplified guide, in line with this simplified guide, there's so much that we need to discuss, particularly today when it comes to reporting cases of sexual and gender-based violence. And I'll lay emphasis particularly on concealing or hiding the identity of survivors when you're reporting these cases. Do you think this is something that should be done better? And how do you think we can do it better? How do you think we can hide the identity of women and girls who have suffered from gender-based violence when we're reporting these cases?
First of all, our social media people, they need training on how to report the cases of violence against women and girls. Most especially, they don't just mention their names. They need to cover their faces. So they need training. It's not good for social media, our reporters, social media people to just be mentioning the name and everything like that. So they need to so in any organization or any agency, any MDA that is handling the issue of gender-based violence, they need a counseling room for confidentiality, a separate room whereby these people, they'll be able to pour their mind, they'll be able to say everything. So they need a counseling room for survivors of GBV during the counseling program. And also in reporting, they don't need to mention maybe all their names, the spelling and everything. They can mention the first name, and they don't need to show their faces. So, because of stigmatization, most especially when it comes to issue of rape or incest, the ones we are handling in our state, the issue of incest, they need to have, when they get to court, it's not an open court. They will do this thing. There's something they call family court. It's just in a room so that everybody will know what is happening. So they need their own confidentiality also. And also, these people need to be removed from that scene where the GBV has happened. Maybe a student, she needs to be removed from that.
And yes, we are encountering some network issues with the program at the moment. I apologize for that. You're still tuned into Women Radio 91.7, and you're still tuned into Women Radio 91.7, and this is Women Lives Matter. Today on Women Lives Matter, we're discussing step-by-step procedure on reportage of violence against women and girls. Step-by-step procedure on reportage of violence against women and girls. It is especially important that we dedicate enough time to have this conversation, because this is a conversation that has been long overdue, and this affects every single fiber of society, directly and indirectly. So this is why we need to have this conversation. And if you're just tuning in, you're welcome. You can call in to ask questions, to contribute to 07000 917 917. 07000 917 917. Also do well to send in your text or WhatsApp messages to 0703 175 6537. 0703 175 6537. Once more, I still have Omolono Olabisi, Chief Executive Officer, Restoration of Womanhood. She is discussing with us today on step-by-step procedure of reportage of violence against women and girls. Now, let me come back to you now, Olabisi. Educating the Iyalodes and other community leaders, do you think that's very important? And how far do you think we can go with that when it comes to reporting cases of gender-based violence while protecting the survivor? Or let me rephrase that question. What do you think about training and educating the Iyalodes and other community leaders on the steps to report cases of sexual and gender-based violence, but also protecting the survivor, and as you've said, to reduce stigma?
Okay. Thank you very much. Training this set of people is germane in this issue of violence against women and girls. You know the yellow days and the yellow jazz. I just want to our own case in Ondo State. Since we have trained the yellow days and the yellow jazz, we have been having it so good in the state. Because after the training, this set of people, the yellow days and yellow jazz, they went back to their different communities and start to sensitize their community members, most especially women, to speak up when they are being abused. And also in their marketplaces also, they have taken it upon themselves to make it a monthly issue to be sensitizing the women in the market on the issue of child abuse. So if they are not being trained, if they are not being equipped, they will not be able to do this thing. So it's a very good one if this set of people can be trained. Even in each community, you can train the yellow days and yellow jazz in each communities so that they will know their rights. Like the one we did in Ondo State, they were also empowered with the verb law. They were given the verb law. Most of these yellow and yellow jazz now, they are literate. They can read and write. They can digest whatever is given to them. So training them is a very good step to end this issue of violence against women and girls in our society. And the yellow and yellow jazz, they have their rules, they have their laws in the market that if anything like that happen, they can go to any length to seek justice and to seek justice for that person. They can fight. Even the government, they respected them, the yellow days and yellow jazz in those days. So training them is a very good one. If all the yellow days and yellow jazz can be trained on this violence, this issue of violence against women and girls, and empower them with the simplified verb law, I think it will it will reduce this issue of gender and this violence against women and girls in our society. And also the community leaders in our own state, we have taken our advocacy to all the religious leaders, both the Christians and the Muslim community. We have been there. So if all these people if we train them, it will be a plus to end gender-based to end violence against women and girls in the community. In our project site now, they know where to go. Like one of our outreaches in one of our communities, that community, that's our community. Now, after the training, the pastor that attended this program went back to his church and mobilized about 300 women that we should come and talk to them again. That is the impact of being in our program. So each knows that what we have done is very good. So if we can train this set of people, it will be a plus to end the violence against women and girls in our society.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you very much for that point. Now, still talking about training or still talking about reporting cases of violence against women and girls, how much more can we do in following up? Because we've been talking about reporting, how to report right and what to do specifically. How much more can we do with following up with reported cases that have already been reported to ensure justice? How much more can be done?
What we need to do is just to follow up the case until we get justice. So we must follow it up and make sure every button that we need to press, we press the button. And also, there must be a budget line for the issue of violence against women and girls in the ministries, most especially the Ministry of Women Affairs and the civil and the security agencies, because most of these times the security agencies, when they know that they want to use their own personal money, maybe to pay for the hospital bill, they don't want to do anything. And most of the people that are being abused, they are vulnerable people that they don't have money. So immediately they get to this security agent and they were asked to go to the hospital, they may not come back. They may write that they want to withdraw the case because they don't have the money. So if you can have budget line to give free air support to these people. With this, it will be easy for us. It will be easy for us to pursue the case and to seek justice. Like I've said earlier, that we thank Wasi for what he's doing in the state. Most of the cases that we have been having, this vulnerable set of people, they don't have money for medical. So we take it upon ourselves to pay their hospital bills. We take it upon ourselves to pay money for writing the book, the clearance agent. They say they want the fund they give to you, you must pay for it. Maybe they give you exercise book, you must pay. So all these things we are doing. But if people that are not privileged to be in our project communities and they don't have money, they just resign to fate. So it's a very good one. If the air support, free air support, can be given to these people, and those people handling the case, they follow up until they seek justice. Those say what we do is that we make sure we follow up and seek justice. Some people have been jailed, imprisoned on this issue in our state, because we make sure we follow it up, we stand with it until we get justice. So all we need is just to make sure we stand by what we are doing and we get justice for this set of people.
Thank you so much. I really hope that more states will take that into consideration to be able to really follow up until justice is served for survivors of gender-based violence, because nobody wants to be put in that position where they don't know what to do, they're backed against the wall, and it looks like the system is not working out for them. So I'm hoping that other states will take that initiative from Ondo State. It's 15 minutes to 3 on Women Radio 91.7, and this is still Women Lives Matter. Women Lives Matter is an initiative of Women Advocates Research and Documentation Center in partnership with Women Radio 91.7 and funded by Ford Foundation. If you're just tuning in, this is Women Lives Matter, and we're discussing step-by-step procedure on reportage of violence against women and girls. I'm speaking today with Omolono Olabisi, Chief Executive Officer, Restoration of Womanhood. The number to call if you still want to call in or contribute is 07000 917 917. 07000 917 917. You can also send in a text message or a WhatsApp message to 0703 175 6537. 0703 175 6537. All right, coming back to you now, Olabisi. To a large extent, there's so many things that can be done to further strengthen the way that violence against women and girls is being reported. So what are some of your best recommendations as to how to increase and help do better or help strengthen, let me put it that way, the reportage on violence against women?
Number one, you need to continue with the sensitization program in the communities, outreaches in the communities, most especially in schools. In schools, when we get to schools and after the sensitization, when these children, when they now come out to say what they are facing at their different homes, in fact, you just feel like weeping for them. Many of them, they are facing a lot in their different homes, even from their biological father, even from their caregivers. So, and because we are there and we sensitize them to speak up, after the program, they will come to us. So we used to give them our phone numbers. So if we can continue to increase the sensitization program, it will give the people the boldness to report the cases. Some have been like a girl that I talked with in one of the secondary schools. The man had made a covenant with her, with blood covenant, that if she tells anybody that the girl will die. But because of the courage, because of what the sensitization we gave them that very day, she received that boldness and speak up. And thank God the girl, she's still alive. So I let them realize that all these covenants you're faithing is just a lie from the pit of hell. So and if they don't hear about it, they will not speak up. Some will be telling you that we have siblings living in the same roof and their mother we don't know. and they will now open up to us that this is what is happening. So I think the sensitization in schools is very, very essential, and also in the communities. Most of our women are living under abusive marriage, and also we women, we must be our fellow women voices. If you see anybody living abusive marriage, advise such a person to speak up. Some will just be there, and because of my child, because of my child, and eventually if they die, the child will live. I used to tell people that your children, they have their own destiny. So not that you are there, that we're there to fulfill their destiny. They have their own destiny that God has given to them. So if you are there, you just die, you die. The child will fulfill the destiny. So we need to let these people, let these women know that is their right, even their right to speak up. It's their right to have a peaceful life. It's their right. So all these things, when we let them know through our sensitization and outreaches, and also in the marketplaces also to sensitize. Some will not come out unless it comes to the market to buy. So whenever we're in the market, maybe that will be the only time you will hear such a message. So we need to increase the sensitization. And in those states also, there's one weekly program, they call it Kike Lomo. That program, they used to invite stakeholders on weekly basis to come and talk on this issue of violence against women and girls. So if you can have such a program continually, and also maybe to have a television program like that again, then everybody will hear about it. Even those in hard to reach areas, they will hear about it. That Kike Lomo program is a very good one in our state. It's the initiative of special adviser on gender in Ondo State. So different stakeholders, people will be phoning in, they be asking questions. So all these things we can do so that people will be reporting the cases.
All right. So finally, before we wrap up, because this is my last question, we're wrapping up now. What are your thoughts on some of the language used by reporters when they're reporting gender-based violence cases? And what would you like the media to change about this choice of language?
Their choice of language is fair, but why we don't want them to be using discriminatory languages. We don't want them to be using that. So they must know the choice of language that will not put people, some people, the survivors, into depression. And also they can they can come out in our different local languages also. So not everybody understand English. They can come out in pidgin, like on those days we have Ijaw and all these things. So the choice of a language must be looked at, so that you will not be giving the languages that can cause another emotional harm to the survivor, or the one that may not want other people to come out and report the cases. So a victim of a survivor, a victim of violence against women and girls is not the end of the world. So they must not let them see that maybe because the way they are dressing, or the way they, maybe you are this, you are that. No, they must, anything they want to say must be the one that will make anybody that cares about it to speak up on the issue if they are being abused again.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Omolola. Omolono Olabisi, thank you so much. Do you have any final words on this step-by-step procedure on reporting cases of violence against women?
My final word is that let every woman at home know that whenever they are being abused, they must speak up. They must let people know what they are facing. There is the world we are now. If you just keep silent, you just die at home. And I want them to know that marriage is not passport to heaven. So don't say because of my marriage, I don't want to divorce. It's not passport to heaven. Let them speak up so they will not die in silence. And to our girls also, most of them that are living continuously on abusive affair, Many of them have been abused by their father. It's a very serious thing now. When you get to these schools and you see what these children are saying, even in primary schools, so they must speak up. That is my last word. That let people speak up, and when they speak up, let people that they speak to, let them encourage them to take further step.
Thank you so
our
much.
government also, they must do something, most especially to seek justice for this set of people. Most of them are vulnerable. That is just they are vulnerable. So because of the vulnerability, they keep quiet and die in silence. So governments must come to their aid. Also, free health support, and any child that is living in abusive home, the child can be withdrawn and be taken to shelter. I have a shelter and I have them in my homes. The ones that have been abused by their father, we rescue them and put them in shelter and we continue to sponsor them. So let all our philanthropists or outside, let them do something to help these vulnerable people.
Thank
So
you
with
so
this,
much. Thank you so much, Olabisi.
and guess.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today on Women Lives Matter. Thank you for taking the time to enlighten us.
Thank you very much.
All right. Please enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Any efforts to document gender-based violence for the purpose of media reporting must be intentional about first prioritizing survivors' safety and best interests. So this means that journalists, reporters, and any other media professionals, as well as other actors who may be supporting access to survivors, must also prioritize survivors' rights to dignity, privacy, confidentiality, safety, security, and protection from harm or retribution, and should also consider if and how a story can potentially violate any of these core principles. So basically, survivors' interest first. That's basically it. Thank you very much to my guest, Omolono Olabisi, and of course, thank you to you for tuning in to Women Lives Matter today. Thank you very much to the producer, Elizabeth Akwerigbe, and Executive Director Tonwo Okewale Shonaya. Women Lives Matter is broadcast every Monday at 2 p.m. on Women Radio 91.7. And let us join our hands together to end violence against women. Women Lives Matter is an initiative of Women Advocates Research and Documentation Center in partnership with Women Radio 91.7 and funded by Ford Foundation. Thank you very much again for tuning in. My name is Sumto Titilayo Ajama.